This thing went in 200 to 250
Dang. Was it for copper as well?
I don't know what they were looking for. There's no record of what they were looking for. There's no record of what was found. But the very first thing out here was found was copper, yes. And then later on, if you got lucky, you find gold.
Is that, you think, why the Red River is called the Red River? Because of the, well, no, I'm thinking of iron.
As I said, we're in Red River, New Mexico this week on vacation, but I did want to broadcast a show from here because it is so beautiful. Red River is a beautiful little town. Yesterday, my nephew and I took a route, a scenic route, all the way around. It's called the Enchanted Loop, and it takes you from Red River all the way down to Taos, and then back up from Taos back to Red River, and there's a few towns in between. There's a few other sites that I would like to have seen, but we didn't have time to stop. But Taos is a very nice little town, but Red River, of the two, between Taos and Red River, my choice would be Red River. And I'll show you some of Red River here in this film.
At the, what are we eating at?
Red River Brewing Company.
Red River Brewing Company. And here's the street. We're sitting out here on the porch, and it might seem like it's chilly to you, but see, we got this right up here. The heater's just buzzing down. Rob's already got a suntan on top of his head, and the rest of him's cold, but everything's great. We're waiting on our hamburgers. There's the inside. And here's me. Here we are at the Red River Inn eating our hamburgers as soon as they come. We're very hungry. Catch you later. One of the things that I wanted to mention was that it's more of a summer town than a winter town. They said, in other words, their business is much better in the summer than it is in the winter. But they do have a ski slope in the winter. In Red River, there's a street, or the highway runs straight through the town, and it's just absolutely beautiful. It's just really nice. Would strongly encourage anybody who's in the area or coming out west to consider Red River as a vacation spot, or at least a spot to stop at for a few days. I'm at a corporate cabin right now. My nephew works for an engineering company, and they own this cabin. It's a very nice cabin. In fact, they have two cabins. One's here and one's up in the valley. And well, we're down in the valley, and I guess, let's see, are they up in the valley or I don't know. I guess we're down in the valley and they're up in the valley. But this is one of the two corporate cabins. It's very nice, very comfortable, and it's very gracious of the company to allow us to be here. The engineering company is a company out of Fort Worth called Freese Nichols. Very, very well-established, long-running engineering company in Fort Worth. So my thanks to them. As you can tell, the sound of my voice is much better. I think that I've completely passed. I'm back to 100%. I'm no longer ill. Whatever was going on with my throat, my illness was the fact that I couldn't talk. I lost my voice for a couple of weeks, but now I'm back to normal. I'd say I'm about 100% right now, maybe 99.9%. Here in New Mexico, it's with the thin air, it's a little hard to catch my breath, so I think I'm 100%, but we'll call it 100%. If I was in Texas, I'd be absolutely 100%. Here in New Mexico, with the thin air, maybe I'm 99.9%. Anyway, what I wanted to do, in one of the things up here in New Mexico while I'm on vacation, is I wanted to tell you some of the things that I'm doing on this vacation, how I'm relaxing. My wife and kids are back in Fort Worth. Alexander is at Lockheed, so he has to work, and he doesn't have any vacation time built up yet. My daughter's taking a physics class at TCU, so she couldn't get away. My wife is having some surgery this week on Friday, so she couldn't come. My nephew's wife couldn't come because she's tied up at TCU. So just my nephew and I came out here to Red River, New Mexico, to enjoy the sights and the scenery and cigars. Now, as I said before, I don't smoke cigars in the morning because, well,
It's just not time yet. I'm one of those timely fellows. Now, later on, I'll try to do some recordings in the evening when we have our cigars. In the meantime, I've got my orange juice. The weather up here keeps you pretty dry, so you're constantly trying to drink something. But what I wanted to do was share a few of the things that I brought with me to read and some games to play, and I wanted to tell you about them. One of the things that I brought to read is a book that I talked about and I reviewed in a previous episode, but I thought I would go ahead and mention it real quick because I have read a few of the chapters in it, particularly a chapter on original meaning. And it's a very good chapter, and Scalia talks about the fact that original meaning to our forefathers meant different things. He's talking about original intent versus original meaning. And at the very end of it, he explains that maybe we should be discussing original meaning instead of original intent, because a lot of our founding fathers said that we shouldn't be looking at the original intent, but rather the original meaning in accordance with state legislatures as they passed and ratified the Constitution from state to state. Those are the writings that we should be looking at according to Madison and according to Hamilton. One of the books that I brought is a book that I found at the half-price bookstore. It's called The Desert Island Decameron, and it was written by H. Allen Smith. And it's a humorous book. It was written in 1945. A very good book. It's, of course, out of print. You won't be able to find it except perhaps in an old bookstore or half-price books or on eBay. But it is a very funny book, and it turns out Smith was a very good writer. He was a newspaper man, and he wrote from the 1930s all the way through to, I think he died in, I want to say he died in 71. But it's a very funny book. I really like it. And, of course, I like the humor from the 1940s because that is when things were actually funny. Things are not funny anymore because everybody is so serious. And besides, that brings up something I want to talk about. Humor. I just don't like today's humor at all. Humor is supposed to be funny. And today, all we have in modern comedy, what they call modern comedy, is vulgarity, or they talk about bodily functions, or they talk about sex, or they talk about, I don't know, it's degrading things. And supposedly these things are supposed to be funny. I don't think things like that are funny. I don't laugh at them. I don't like modern sitcoms. I never laugh at them. If anything, they're boring or they're obnoxious. The type of humor that I like, the comedy that I still admire and enjoy, is comedy from the Marx Brothers or Abbott and Costello. I never was a big fan of the Three Stooges, just a little bit too much slapstick, but they can be humorous. Laurel and Hardy were funny. Bob Hope and Bing Crosby, the road shows, you can't beat that. Watch that. Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis, now that was funny. And of course, the king of all of them, in my heroes, was Abbott and Costello, still is. Any of those comedies, some of the old sitcoms were funny. I Love Lucy was funny. Dick Van Dyke was funny. Even Leave It to Beaver was a little bit corny, but it was funny. It somehow today, with modern audiences, if you're not gross or you're not talking about bodily functions or some gross depiction of female anatomy, somehow it's supposed to be funny, and I just don't get it. I don't like it, and I'm not gonna like it. So there you go.
tearing himself up. I wouldn't do it. Anyway, we chat a bunch, and I just found out like a month ago.
Sorry.
There is
He
there is a
used
plaque.
me as an ashtray.
We're too close to each other.
There is a